Good Sabbath afternoon, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us, Koto Family Life, at this 3 o'clock hour. We are delighted to have you with us once again. Yes. We are Edward and Debbie Smith. We are leaders of the Family Life Ministry at Church of the Oranges. And there's nothing that we love more than talking about relationships and family. And so we are thrilled to have you with us once again.
Yes.
Before we introduce the beautiful young lady that you see sharing the screen with us, we actually got an email from our session last week. So I'm going to read the email. We're going to have her chime in on a response to the email, and then we'll get into the formal introduction and why she's here with us today.
Awesome.
So this email says, "Dear Smiths, during last week's episode, Willie Oliver made a statement about what attracts you while dating repels during marriage. Can you explain what that means?" It's so funny that we got this question in our email because someone called me on Sunday and he had the same question. So I'm just like, wow, this must have really stood out to people and stuck with them to email and ask about it. So, babe, do you want to answer that first? Or do we want Chaplain to...
Throw me on the hot seat.
I think Chaplain should put the icing on the cake. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. So here it is that you're dating, and within your dating, you talk about stuff, and oftentimes the man may have most men have a problem with showing emotions, and so, but this man in particular, he cries, he cries a lot, and so,
not a lot.
Well, not a lot, but he cries quite often. He's probably watching a movie with you, one of those Hallmark movies, and he's crying with you, and something sensitive may happen, and he cries with you. And so now you as a female, you're been in touch. Yeah, you've been in touch with your sensitive side. I like that. That's attractive and stuff. But now here you are married, and he's doing the same thing. Now it begins to annoy you.
Right. Can you man up and stop crying?
Can you man up and stop crying? Stop crying. Men don't cry. And so now it begins to annoy you. And so that's what that meant.
That's a good example. That's actually a really good example. So if you've heard of the saying, familiarity breeds contempt, sometimes that's exactly what happens. So the thing that attracted you about a person, the thing that you adored about a person while dating, here it is that you're married, and that thing could irk your nerves, right? So you may have loved the way he looked at you when you were dating, and now you're married and you just want him to stop looking at you.
Right.
Don't look at me.
Right.
So we think that's what Willie Oliver meant when he made that comment. And Chaplain, feel free to jump in and add anything that you think we might have missed.
Come on, Chaplain.
Well, I can speak from my personal experience. I remember there was a time that there was something that I admired about this young man. And I had to really contemplate, like, it's really great that this person speaks up and is very confident and has an opinion. He's very opinionated. And I realized that, I couldn't handle that for the rest of my life. And so we may be attracted to a particular quality, but then when we think in the long term of experiencing this every day, day in or day out, that characteristic or quality may pop up. Are we going to be able to deal with it and handle it with dignity and respect with that person when we're not feeling our best, when we're upset and irritated? And so sometimes it does come back to bite us, literally. That very quality that we were attracted to gets on the nerve. And so I think the counter to that is just reminding ourselves to always try to respect that other person and to speak with them with dignity and to value this quality. But if it's irritating, I think if we maintain that communication of respect, that we can still hold the dignity of that relationship.
Yeah, beautiful,
awesome.
Beautiful.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And listen, guys, keep the emails coming. We love to hear from you. We love to get your feedback about our topics and our guests. So remember that you can email us, family@kotosda.org. chaplainandria.org. We will keep your name anonymous, but we would love to hear from you, get some feedback, or answer your questions live on our session.
Yes.
So let's get into why we are here this afternoon.
Wait a minute. Before you get into it, are you over the moon thrilled with our guest this evening?
I am.
Yes.
I am.
Okay.
I am so fond of our chaplain. I just have a lot of admiration and respect for her. And so I'm really excited about our discussion, and we're going to get a chance to pick her brain a little bit, find out a little bit more about her. So I'm excited that she's here. So Chaplain Stewart graduated from Andrews University with a Master of Divinity degree in 2016 and matriculated to the school's Doctor of Missiology degree program, and is currently writing her dissertation. We're going to have to come back to that so I can find out what that is. I've never heard of that program before. In 2018-2019, she served as the Earl Hall Religious Life Fellow at Columbia University. She was recently appointed chaplain to Adventist students at Columbia University, as well as the advocate and interim support to other public campus ministries in the New York City area. She not only supports the incredible work of the Office of the University Chaplain, but also facilitates the promotion of vibrant religious life and interfaith dialogue among diverse faith groups on campus. In addition to her desire to help students develop their faith, discover a sense of purpose, and helping them breathe a little lighter, she's also the chaplain of discipleship at the Seventh-day Adventist Church of the Oranges, COTO. Chaplain Stewart has a strong passion for seeing lives changed and transformed by the love of God, activated and motivating all that she endeavors to do. Outside of her academic and professional interests, the chaplain's most favorite activity is spending time with her amazing almost 13-year-old son, Nathan. She also has a general appreciation for music and the arts, and penning her head to heart thoughts through journaling. Through journaling. She is also a big believer in the power of chocolate, hugs, and humor. So when you see her, be on the lookout for a hug and smile. Except now with COVID-19, she might have to satisfy with waving hello and sending virtual hugs.
I love it.
Again, we are so very delighted to have Chaplain Stewart with us here this afternoon. We've had the pleasure of interacting with her at COTO on a regular basis. And we're just thrilled to have her here. So before we get into any heavy discussion, please talk to us about this doctoral degree program that you are pursuing. What is the title and what is it?
Okay, so there are pastors who go for maybe a Doctor of Ministry degree. Missiology is the study of mission. It's this interdisciplinary degree of theology and sociology and world mission. So I'm getting the best of both worlds. And so I'm pulling in sociology experience and knowledge. I'm pulling in theological experience and knowledge. And of course, that gospel mission, putting that in a context that serves a particular area. And so I'm into urban ministry. And so I'm pulling all that knowledge and experience into serving in urban ministry. And so New York for me was the best place to do that, but I settled for Jersey because, it's just a hop across the bridge. So so that's what I'm working on right now.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some deep stuff. Stuff.
And we know that you have a heart for mission and you have a heart for the community, just from interacting with you.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into like the heavy topics and the questions, why don't you start by just telling our viewers and our listeners a little bit about who you are? Like, where did you grow up? Are you an only child? Just give us a little background about Chaplain Stewart.
Absolutely. I'm just a simple gal who found grace by God, a sinner saved by grace. I grew up in Jamaica, left there early. I went to Montego Bay High School, so shout out to any alums who are watching. And migrated here to the States, and it's been one push after another to get to the space that I've been in now. I've been through a lot of experiences. I am from a blended family, and so I have, I don't know, there are probably 7 of us, 4 on each side. And an interesting story about my family is, and this has been a big thing, we love to tell the story, is that my father was married to my mom when they were young, like 19 years old. And later he married my stepmom, who I adore both my moms. And it's interesting that my mother's name is Jacinth, as in that precious stone. And my stepmom's name is Jasmine.
Oh, wow.
My stepmom has 2 children, Andrea and Chris. And my mom has 2 children, Andrea and Chris.
Oh,
so
my
you can
God.
just imagine at holiday time when we all get together, and we do get together, because if we cannot live together here on earth, how are we going to be loving colleagues and people of God in the new earth? And so I love that my family has taken the journey to being here in this space. I am a single mom. He's now 13, going on 14. And that's been a journey in itself. It's my best relationship. It's the relationship that taught me about God's love, that has shaped and molded me into being who I am today, to be patient, to be kind, and to actually experience healing in my heart. I don't know, what else?
No, that was great.
That's great. Yeah, that's very good, because I mean, you segued right into what we're here to talk about today. Single and parenting, and not just parenting, but parenting teenagers. And God knows, we know that's very rough, because we have teenagers ourselves.
We have a teenager.
We have a teenager. And you and I were talking the other day, and sometimes we don't see this young man unless it's dinner time, and so he surfaced just for dinner, and you get the dinner, and then he goes under again, and and sometimes you want to think that you may have offended your teenage, and sometimes, hey, what's going on? What have I done? Nothing. I'm okay. But and so these, and so we're here to talk about, how do you cope in stuff like that? Is it frustrating? What are some of the things? So one of the first questions that I want to ask you really is, what tip advice do you have for a single parent with teenage or teenagers? How do you keep them engaged?
All right, so I had to think about this question, and I had to put a list together, because I didn't want to miss these things, because I think they are critical in influencing our teenagers who want to have nothing to do with us. And I completely understand how you feel. I feel like we're in this phase or stage where we're chasing our kids like, oh my, talk to me, right? We are chasing them for them to have conversations with us. And so to keep them engaged, I'll talk about my relationship with my son. So he's an only child, and so I might helicopter way too much. But one of the things that I do enjoy doing is asking how he's doing, like checking in, like really checking in. So you have to have build that foundation for them to be able to have that openness with you. And so I was very careful to build that foundation to say, how are you really doing? Like, and there's sometimes when he may not want to talk to me about how he's feeling in that moment, and he'll say, Mom, can I talk with you about that later? Or he'll say, not now, and I'll respect that space. And then he'll come and he'll really talk to me. And so we have that time to check in. Another thing is make it about your child or your children. Everything I do surrounds not just trying to please my child, but to disciple him. So I'm very intentional. So in engaging, I literally plan, like I'm planning a date. I like, if I'm planning a meal, like what does he want? What does he like? Because I want to pull him in. And so I'm getting those things. We have to do those things, right? to get him interested and engaged. So I cook his favorite foods. I buy the games that I know that he likes. I watch the movies that, even though I don't want to watch them,
Right.
just so we can have that dialogue and conversation.
Right.
And another thing is I allow him to teach me. So I do the teaching, but then I allow him to reflect back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with school, he does not want my help at all. And so I'll say, well, tell me about that. Show me how to do this math, because I really don't remember, honestly. And so in him teaching me the math, it's clicking. And so, you know, we are not only engaging, but he's actually processing that information. Mm-hmm. Another thing is to do something active. So my son is really good at Uno. And if you have a child out there, when we get back to Kodo and it's social night, I want you to play with us. He's on this high horse because he's always winning. So we play games together, right? And what we do is we have a board game on our table. And so right now in COVID, he's in one room and I'm confined to another room because he's doing school online and I might be doing a recording like this. But what we do every so often throughout the day, like when he's on break, I'm like, let's do one round of Monopoly or one round of Uno. And so we are staying engaged. Another thing that I love that we do is that my son will just come in and he'll say, Mom, can I have a hug?
Oh.
but that culture got started because I would go to him and I'll say, can Mommy have a hug? I need a hug. And so right now that there's this reciprocity where he can pull himself away from whatever he's doing and he can say, okay, and it's just nothing behind it. Like, I don't need to talk. I'm just like, can we have a hug right now? So I do enjoy that we do that. And giving them a choice, letting them feel independent is also another good thing to get them engaged. And so ever since my child was young, I always offered him choices. So, you know, I'll put out two of my favorite suits that I wanted to wear. So it didn't really matter which one he picked, I would be satisfied. Okay, I'm telling secrets. And so that would give him, but he would choose which one. It would empower him to make those choices. And I think the last thing that I thought about was to give him a challenge. And right now my son wanted, well, years ago, we've had several dogs, but a year ago we invested in making an addition to our family, and we have a dog. And so one of the challenges for us is now caring for this dog. And so the challenge for my son is, listen, you have to learn about life. And so we have to wake up, whether we want to wake up or not. And so the challenge is keeping that schedule to care for someone or something other than yourself. So we every day we have this intentional opportunity to engage.
Yeah, I love it. So a couple of things came to mind while you were talking. One, does Nathan cheat at Uno?
You know, I can't tell. So I'm not very good. And I think he's really good because he played with my aunt and he beat her and she thought she was really good. So I'm going to give that to him. So we're open for a challenge. You know, I'll celebrate my son, but sometimes, you know, you just got to knock him down a peg so he can be gracious to Mommy when we're playing.
Yeah. Our children cheat, so you know.
They do. They make up their own rules as they go along. They change the rules on me as they go along.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many cards I have them pick up. Somehow they end up beating. So we're definitely gonna have an Uno challenge when we get back.
Absolutely.
In person. The other thing, you know, listening to you and the intentional way that you engage with Nathan reminds me of a book called Mother and Son. And I don't know if you've read it. It's by Emerson. And to any mother that's listening right now, I advise you to get that book. It is so profound. It talks about the need for a son to feel respected. And I think sometimes we think that because they're not adults that they don't deserve respect. Like, we just need to tell them what to do. And they just, right. And so, you know, we just expect them to do it. But this book talks about, you know, men need respect. And guess what? Younger men, our boys, need respect as well. It also talks about, our girls need the love, right? So they want to hear how much you love them. The boy wants to hear that, hey, I love the way you made that decision. I love to see how responsible you're becoming. They want to know that you acknowledge the fact that you see growth in them. And that helped me a lot, because I was always telling my son, I love you, I love you, I love you, like he was one of the girls. How I raised my daughters. And now I'm learning that, yes, he needs to hear it, but he also needs to hear, hey,
the respect aspect.
Right, that I respect him, that, hey, I love the young man that you're becoming. I see you making these decisions and I'm really proud of you. So get the book. It's really, really good. But I don't think you need it, because it sounds like you're there already.
You got it covered.
Still drop it in the chat. I still want to read it, because as they grow, we grow, right?
Yes. I've always stated that, female, may you be an adult or a child, but you relate love to affection. That's just what you do. For men, may you be an we relate love to respect. Right. The more you show me respect is the more that I take that and I interpret that to love. I said, okay, she loves me because she shows me respect. And I love that relationship that you're having with your son. One thing that you spoke about is the fact that you will go to him and say, are you okay? Because you want to know how we feel. Unfortunately, for most teenagers, yes, I'm okay. I'm fine. But then I do probing question. Okay, what makes you okay? What is it that makes you okay? Because now I want you to talk to me. Now you're going to explain to me. You're going to have to explain to me, why are you okay?
Yeah. That's one of the things that we adopted, even around the dinner table. Instead of saying, how was your day? We changed the questions. What made you smile at school today?
Right.
Did anything upset you at school today? What made you sad at school today? And so we started to get some different responses and getting some things out that may have been bothering, especially our son, who's in high school. But so just learning your kid's rhythm, right? Learning when something is just a little off. And I also love the fact that he's a mama's boy, right? He comes to you and, Mom, can I get a hug? My son is also a mama's boy. He'll come downstairs 10 times a day. Mom, you okay?
Too much.
You need anything? Yesterday he came and sat on my lap. The boy is 6 feet tall, but he would still come and sit on my lap. And so, we have to hold on to them and love them and embrace them while we can, because the time is going to come when, they're going to be off doing their own thing and we won't be able to hold them. So definitely.
So you kind of answered my second question that I would want to ask, but I'm still going to ask because they're part of it. So with the fact that you and your son are so engaged, do you have to schedule any structured moments or meeting with him so that, so that the both of you can interact?
Absolutely. I think when our day gets crazy, no matter what's going on, the one thing that I am intentional about is our devotion time. So sometimes, because it's just the two of us, sometimes, we'll eat dinner in the same space. Like I'll be sitting at the table and he'll be on the couch. Right. And so sometimes we are intentional about sitting and doing this, but we always have this devotional time, which is when I get to really reflect with him. And so it's our intimate time. I have found that devotional time is our intimate time. Like there's nothing else happening in the world. Nothing else really matters. We're just in this space together with God. And, I'll say to him, what was challenging about your day? When we come to the end of devotion, before we pray, I'll say, what was challenging about your day? And so if things pop up, then we may talk about it, and then we'll talk to God about it. The same way I'll ask, so what were you grateful for today? And so we'll be able to talk about that. And then we weave everything into our prayer, right? Both the things that challenge us and the things that we're grateful for. And I allow my son, I'll say to him, listen, you're in charge of devotion tonight.
Right.
So it's whatever you come with. So we do that. So that structured time for me is the time when we have that intimacy. And so I've learned to make sure, even if it's 11 o'clock, we are doing devotion. Yeah. So that's the time I use most. It's really not at the dinner table, but at devotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Awesome.
And so, here you are as a single parent. We're in the midst of this pandemic. I know that you were ill. Talk to us about that a little bit. Like, how did you manage that and still parenting Nathan and showing up for him while you were ill?
Yeah, that was very challenging. When I started to get sick, I didn't even know that I had COVID. But after the symptoms and everything else came out, we're like, wow, that's actually what I had. And Nathan got it. So I was scared, but I wasn't sure. And people were telling me I had the flu. But then when I lost my sense of taste and smell and it was gone for weeks, they were like, that's, those are symptoms of COVID. And my son had the same thing happen. So while I was ill, I had to do everything for myself and literally confined myself to my room. I was spraying everything after myself, going to the bathroom, everything in the kitchen, wherever I went. And I literally said, I have to stay away from you. But the first 4 days I was in my bedroom and I couldn't really interact with him, but he was okay. He would call on the phone or I would text, are you okay? Because sometimes I couldn't talk. And literally through the telephone communication say, are you okay? I'm okay. I'm sick. I don't know what I have. Stay away. Right. And so after 4 to 5 days and not having a fever, then I was able to kind of venture out into the common area. And then I started interacting with him, but then, he started to get sick. So now I could take care of him, right? So even though I was sick, I was taking care of him, but he was very good at staying away and checking in on me by phone in the same house, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And so, it brings up challenges of, single parenting, like just having to do everything
by yourself.
Like, just talk to us a little bit about that, the weight of it. I'm sure sometimes it gets overwhelming.
Absolutely.
How do you cope? How do you,
Yes. So when I was sick, the one thing I wish I had was a companion, a spouse, somebody else in the house to help me who was not my child. And so that it does get strenuous at times. When there are two parents in the home, see, God intended for us to do this parenting thing in partnership together, but also with him. And so when that one half is missing, we're having to compensate and we're carrying this burden and we adjust to that. That's how versatile the human capacity is to adjust to that, carrying that burden and that load, but it is not always easy. Yeah. So as women, we see a problem and we go with it, we fix it, and we know, look, this is our situation and we have to deal with it and we push through it. But there are times when absolutely you wish, the other parent would be available to have that conversation for when you need to take that 5-minute break from your frustration, that you can actually take that time out and not have to worry about, okay, now I got to go make dinner. Right. Or now I got to go do homework with oversee the homework. So there is that component that is missing that is essential. Just because we do it does not necessarily mean that is the way we desire it for it to be, because I do recognize that God intended parenting to be a two-person job. But I thank him for the grace and the strength, and I applaud all the women out there who are single moms and all the dads who are single dads, and you're trekking and you're doing this. I thank God that he's equipping you day by day to do this journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you just a quick question, really. I know your son does not watch the news. I don't know if any teenagers will really do.
Right.
But so how do you keep him abreast with what is going on in the news as it relates to this pandemic? Because, well, I'll just leave it right here. How do you keep him abreast with the news and what is going on and the severity of it?
Right. So I don't have to. Our kids are connected to technology, and technology, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or Facebook, is feeding them information. So for this semester of schooling, though, the social sciences and even in language arts, they really had to do a project on COVID. So he had to do the internet research. The teachers provided articles, but of course, I watch the news in the morning. So even if he doesn't, he'll hear me yelling at the TV, right? So he'll like, okay, whatever they did was not good.
Right.
But the thing that we do talk about is, okay, so he has that discussion in his social circle and in the classroom. And then we have that discussion about, well, why it is that we need to do what we need to do. And so when it came on to those changes of sheltering in place while we're home, it really didn't sink in at first. But then, after a few weeks and there was no end in sight, it did. Right. Yeah. And so what we do is have the discussion based on the changes. And so when we got the news that school was closed, then we talked about what that meant and why that change was relevant. But I'm so grateful that the school is covering it, the social media is covering it, and if he has questions, he'll ask me. And then we've had to go out into the community ourselves, so we see what's happening, and we'll talk about it then as well.
Oh, beautiful. So when it comes to being a single mom in the church, do you find that there are any biases? Are there, do you feel that you're treated a certain way, or people look at you crazy when they find or hear that you're a single mom?
All right. Do you want to go down that rabbit hole?
We're just gonna scratch the surface of that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let me just address the fact that as a single mom, as a divorcee and single mom, those were like pins against me. And when I was in seminary, I had people tell me, "Wow, I like you, I support you," and being a female. So those are things that were actively people will smile with you, but they're also challenged by the choice or what I see them perceiving as a choice. I'm saying that is my calling. And so I believe it is my calling to be to be a mom and also to be a minister. And so when I'm in the church space, I have not yet experienced this. I feel like anything negative, but what I've had is people surrounding me. So I've been very, very blessed with that experience of having people, the elders in my church in Florida, they would invite my son to go with their sons to go bike riding because they recognized I was a single mom. And I also advocated for myself. I spoke up for myself. So for example, you guys there's two parents in your household, I would make friends with you. And I'm like, look, when you're going on your bike ride, can you take my son? Because I recognize he needs that male influence. And so I was intentional about making sure that I was connecting with people. So I didn't sit around and wait for them to look at me funny or give me prejudice. I was in their face like, how you doing? Who are your kids? Where are you hanging out? Can we ride along with you? And so I actually have been blessed to have been supported as a single mom. And so, they say it takes a village, and I recognize that. And so even if that attitude or culture isn't there, I tend to want to be a trendsetter in making sure that trend gets started.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful experience. That you've had that support and have not experienced some of the negativity, because unfortunately sometimes in our churches there's the stigma, right? You're a single mom or you're divorced, there's this stigma like you're wearing the scarlet letter. And so just talk about, as a church family, how can we support single parents, right, or those who have gone through a divorce, you know, people who are kind of marginalized because of their family status? How do we support? How do we, you know, let them know that you're welcome here?
Absolutely. So I think the blessing for me has, because I've been on this journey so early in my life and being in church ministry, that because I've gone through that experience of single motherhood, and I know the challenges wherever I go, I always speak to it, advocate for it, that we're not having women experience that. And so in congregations where I meet women who are single moms, I always try to give them that level of welcome and encouragement that I need. And also encourage, you know, I get involved with women's ministry to say, can we support with family ministries? Can we support? And so I think for me, my contribution has been to advocate, to be a voice for women who are not. And I tend to use myself as an example to make sure that other women are not experiencing what you are describing, because I know the challenge of that. And so, especially for unwed mothers, like, I'm a big believer that we need to support people regardless of the choices that they made, that if they're in the church space, it simply means they still want to be connected with God. And so I think our best bet as a church is to recognize that it takes a village to disciple the village. And so that's the culture that I think we need to express. And, you know, leaders are the ones who set the agenda for the culture. And so as leaders, we need to set that example by being ones who embrace and encourage and equip and have ministries like Family Life to address the issues, or have programs to educate people about blended families or single mothers or divorce care, all these things that we need to help us be better people in our daily life, but also to engage our spiritual life as well.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's very good. It takes a village to disciple
The village.
The village. I'm gonna let you know right now. I am going to take that, and I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna give you credit for the first time. The others I won't give you credit for. Just, you know, I love it. It makes a lot of sense. So back to teenagers, right? And so they get bored very easily, and they, Mom, can I go outside? Can I go and hang with my friends? My friends don't have COVID, you know, they're fine, you know, everything is fine with them and their parents. Why can't I go? What do you say in cases like that? How do you navigate, you know, trying to please your teenage son and understand the fact that he or she is bored, and but at the same time you have to give some sense of protection?
Absolutely. And I get that. So right now, the social context is on the phone. It's the video chat. It's the texting. And I have to say that lately, I actually suggested to my son, I said, okay, you need to get out of here, get outside of the house.
Oh my goodness.
And so I said to him, why don't you invite we have this dog that we have to take our dog out for a walk. Mm-hmm. And I said, why don't you invite your friend for a dog walk date? And so, of course, I mean, I'll be with you. I did. And I said, you wear your mask and your glove and we can social distance. Right. And so I've seen people and I've seen teenagers actually walking the pier, but they're social distancing. So they're not huddled together, but you know, they have the headphones in and they're talking. And then there's a couple people a few steps ahead. And I'm like, what's going on? But they're talking to each other while they're walking, but they're social distancing. So I said, well, but you know, not all mothers are radical like myself. And so if your child is healthy, you want to protect them and keep them healthy. But at the same time, I was concerned about the mental health of my son just being boxed in. And so I was like, well, what choice do I make? I mean, I can stand with them, be with them, and make sure that they are social distancing, but still maybe going outside because they're locked up in their apartments and in their homes. And so I'm like, just to get some fresh air, you can You can stand on one side of the street and say, what's up? I see you, but it's not to congregate, but it's to find some healthy way to deal with that mental aspect, not just the physical aspect. So that was my perspective. Y'all don't text or email family life about my decision. But we've not had the chance to do that just yet. But that was just one idea that I had to creatively find some way to help my son to socialize outside of being locked inside.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you do for self-care?
Oh, me?
Yes, you.
Ooh. Okay, so I work out, which I love to work out for self-care, but COVID kind of took that from me, and I don't know that I don't like working inside my space, inside my home, because it's really small, and so I feel confined. So what I do now is I do social distance with my mask and my gloves, and I go for a walk. So taking that walk outside for me, I also walk my dog. So my son and I take turns doing that. Staying organized is self-care, because I cannot operate in chaos. So
yeah,
self-care.
You can say we, because I'm right there with you. We have the same type of planner. We're like, let's stay organized. That's my spirit. We're connected.
Absolutely. And speaking of being connected, staying connected, making those phone calls with those friends and family, taking time away from all the devastation.
Mm-hmm.
I started, I subscribe to Scribd, and I'm not promoting them at all, but I'm just saying that they have tons of audiobooks. And so I discovered audiobooks. And so before bed, I would do something to educate myself, something to develop myself spiritually and professionally and personally. So it might just be 15-minute bite sizes of audio that I'm using to kind of keep motivated, so that I can, progress and push through whatever it is that we're dealing with. And what else? I like ice cream, so I'll try to find the 7-layer coconut vegan ice cream, and I'll indulge. And I love humor. I try to, at least on weekends, find a fun movie to watch. And then I goof off with my child. The things that we do together, I don't know, I wouldn't be sane if we weren't able to have that relationship where we can joke around and laugh together. Right. And then, of course, the best self-care is staying connected with our God. I wake up in the mornings, and when I open my eyes, I have this attitude of gratitude. And so maintaining that keeps me safe. It keeps me sane. And so those are intentional ways that I self-care.
Yeah, it's funny enough that you say that, because, I talk to God a lot, but I find myself talking to him even more now in this pandemic moment. Every morning, Chaplain, I kid you not, every morning I open my eyes. I open my eyes with surprise. Surprise of the fact that I am alive. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm alive today. Thank you. So I just go into, just not asking him for anything, just thanking him for the fact that he allowed me to see another day. And I really think that is so important. In this pandemic, if your relationship with your family, still stay the same, then something is wrong. If your relationship with your God still stay the same, something is wrong. Because we have always stated that we have no time, right, to do so many things. So now what COVID have done is it has given us back all of the time in the world. So now utilize that time and make it productive.
Yeah, beautiful. So, Chaplain, I want to ask you a very personal question. If it's too personal, you can say so. Dating as a single mom, what does that look like? Is that something that you do? Are you dating?
Yeah, no. So I tried dating when my son was younger, and at some point I had to realize I can't do it. It's just not for me. I felt torn. Being a single mom in itself was such a burden. And also I was going to school full time. I'm still in school full time. I do ministry. If you read my bio. So I had a pretty productive, I'm not going to say busy schedule. I have a very productive schedule. And so I made the decision. I made the decision to not go hunting. Right. I couldn't be consumed about hunting. And I'm not going to say if God sends me someone that I won't, I hope I'm paying attention. Right. I would love to be dating. I really would love to be dating. I'm an adult. I'm a woman. I'm not a robot. Right. So which means I have emotions, I have feelings, I have needs. And sometimes as an adult, you want another adult to be able to have that companionship and that dialogue with, and to feel loved in all the ways that God desires for a man and a woman to be loved. But it has been such a challenge. And so I've had some experience with abuse, and I did not want that for my child. So I was also very particular and careful about the choice that I was making. And it's at the sacrifice of maybe not having that companion. And so what I've done is just being intentional about making sure my son has male influence in his life while we're doing this journey. I often say to him, all right, the minute you're off to college, I'm on a singles cruise. But for now, as we're doing life and living life, it is not my focus, but I'm also not exempting it from my life.
Got you. So the door is open should it happen.
Exactly.
Okay, got you. We have to ask that question because there are so many challenges with dating as a single parent. Who are you introducing your child to? Are you introducing them to people that you're dating? And so there are lots of challenges, and I respect your decision to kind of say, listen, I have to put not just my child first, but my calling, right? I need to finish up what I started with this education. And, and I love your statement, should God send me someone, I hope I'm paying attention. There are so many single parents who are on the opposite end of that spectrum, who that's their focus. Last week when we spoke to Willie and Elaine Oliver, we were talking about that there are people who worship the idea of marriage. And so that's their focus. That's all they can think about. And so it's interesting when we have, especially a single mother, who that's not the focus. So, we really applaud you and respect,
They feel as though they're not complete unless they're married.
Okay. When you have that talk on singleness, we can talk about that, because I get that. I do get that. But when you recognize and you feel that wholeness with God in your life, I kid you not, he fills that space. God's unconditional love is so powerful. I am not lonely. In fact, my biggest fear is that I'll be afraid to allow myself to go be with someone else. And I'm like, unless they're coming from you, God, and they know how to love me, how to make me, to love me, because you are driving them to me to love me. I don't want to really come out of this love relationship that I have with the Lord, because he provides for me. He's my daddy. He gives me all of this. Like I'm fulfilled and I'm satisfied. And it took a while for me to get to a place of singleness and satisfaction. And so sometimes when people are not there and they feel that void and that emptiness, then they will want to go seeking for it. But I mean, dare I say, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and perhaps for a moment while they're looking in the interim, that God can fill that space in their life, that God can help to bring healing. So I had to go through a lot of healing to get to this space where I can actually talk with you. 10 years ago, we would not be having this conversation. This would not have been our conversation 10 years ago.
Right.
So it took time to get to this place.
Yeah, I honestly believe that a woman's heart should be so deeply hidden in Christ so that it would have to take that man to find Christ in order to find that woman.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome.
And so you know, one of the things that I strongly believe in, you know, and I know today's society is filled with, you know, women do a lot of chasing, you know, but I really don't think it is your place. It's not your place. The Bible speaks of he that finds a wife finds a good thing. So you can't be in a position to be found while you are chasing. Right? Somebody have to be hidden in order for the other person to find. Right? And the Bible make it abundantly clear, he that finds a wife. Right? So if you want to be a wife, you can't do the chasing.
Listen, I love what you're saying. I've had guys tell me, and this is a thing for maybe moms who are in what we perceive as power positions. It's really hard for us because the first thing that we're told is, yeah, they're not going to pick you, right? They're not going to pick you. You're too. Yes, I've had people say to me, you will have to whistle. Like I would have to do the chasing. And I'm like, yes, no. But I remember what that says about not chasing and trusting God, right? To really influence that person's heart, that, you know, to give him the courage that if he sees someone that he likes, that he can actually have the courage to step to that woman. And so some of us may be in a perceived power position, but the thing I love about myself and other women, Sister Debbie, is, yeah, we can be damsels in distress. we can submit. And you know, a lot of times people perceive or misconstrue the perception of you have it all together and you are untouchable, but we're really not. And I say to anyone watching, just ask God for the courage to step to us, to ask us to step up to the plate and talk to us first, right? Because sometimes it only takes a conversation. I'm not trying to advertise. I'm simply saying for all the other women out there.
Hey, wait a minute now.
I was about to say, hold up, wait a minute now.
Wait a minute. Oh.
Do we need to do a part 2?
Right. Yeah, no, but you know, I love it. And you know, this whole notion of searching for someone to complete you, we talked about that last week with Willie and Elaine, and Willie was like, listen, 1 is a complete number. One is a whole number, and I wish more people understood that and accepted that and received it and understood, you know, their brilliance and their, you know, that they have it going on. And but again, you find people on all places within the spectrum. I was listening to a young lady the other day, and she's like, no, I'm not single and satisfied, and stop telling us to be single and satisfied. We're not, you know, we want husbands. And it's like, oh my God. You know, we're not saying, you know, not to want a husband, or, you know, that shouldn't be something that you desire. But I think so many, and then I don't even know that it's the husband. I think people just want weddings. Like, they just want to plan these weddings, and they want to be able, they want the ring. You know,
buy yourself a ring, honey. Right.
They want photo ops on Facebook. And it's so funny, somebody sent me a picture just this morning, Dawn. She sent a picture, and it's 2 cats, and the cats are fighting. And she said, this is a couple at home, and then this is a couple on Facebook. So the same 2 cats that were scratching each other's eyes out, now they're like, you know, posing for Facebook. And I think, you know, sometimes we us married couples, you know, we put it out there.
We paint this rosy picture.
You know, and then people are like, oh, they make it look so easy. You know, that's what I want. But don't envy what anyone else has. Don't covet what anyone else has. This notion of hashtag relationship goals. You have no idea what's happening behind closed doors of that person that you're saying is your relationship goal. You know, create your own story, you know, create what works for you in your relationship. And if not, be amazingly single and satisfied and whole and, you know, about your Father's business. So,
you know, bottom line is that when God created us, Chaplain, he created us for and with a purpose, you know, and a lot of times if we just take time out to figure out what that purpose is or what those purposes are, then, you know, we will find ourselves so busy so that, you know, we won't feel lonely or alone, or you just won't have enough, you just won't have time to do a lot of things because you are so laser focused on your purpose, you know, and so I really think that we need to do that. And like, as you said, Chaplain, you know, if and when God sends someone's your way, you know, just hope to God that you're looking, so you will see that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So, you know, as we get ready to start winding things down, you know, I think about Church of the Oranges and just Family Life Ministries. And I usually come right back here with our guests, you know, because we want to serve a purpose and we want to meet a need. And so as you think about the different needs of our congregation, because you're one of those people who you have your pulse on what's happening with certain clusters of the community and certain clusters of our congregation, where do you see Family Life going as we try to minister to these different pockets of people within our congregation?
That's a beautiful question, because I was actually thinking today on how can we leverage this digital space that we're in. And as I was thinking about digital discipleship, I thought of Family Life and how this platform is so key to polling our community and bringing people together based on shared interest or even shared pain. So, you know, maybe we can poll people on Family Life. Right now, this is our space, right? We don't have the physical space that we're going into, but this digital space where we're saying, okay, who are the singles? We're polling singles. And then we're making those connections so that people can build relationships based on their interests, based on what's going on in their life. And so I'm hoping that Family Life will be a trendsetter in leading us in that direction, because this space is not going to go anywhere. Like, we are not shifting from this space anytime soon. And so I think we are able to, for the interim, work with the digital space, the virtual space, to begin to create connections that form relationships. And right now, I feel like it's great that we're doing Facebook Live. It's great that we are able to connect people to our church services. But what people lack are those relationships. They need for that to happen. And so I think you have a great platform to bring those single moms together, bring singles together around a shared interest or a shared pain about being single. What about women? So we have all these different micro movements that can happen, but the key thing is, how are we connecting them and how are we fostering relationship building so they can make friends in this space, right? So that's the point, is to get people to make those connections that lead to meaningful relationships. And so I'm thinking very hard about it. I'm thinking much about it and exploring it and reading on it and saying, well, we need to shift into that space. And so when we get back into the physical space, we're using both ends of the spectrum to build what we have started online.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Beautiful. We you know, I think there's a stigma about singles ministry. I mean, it's you know, in such a state now that you don't even have a dedicated singles ministry. There are a broad spectrum of singles, from your young adults to senior citizens or 50 plus and the rest of us, forever young. And so, it's singles ministry has just taken on a whole different meaning, I think. Some people who are single don't want to be in a singles ministry. And so we, like you said, we have to find new ways of ministering and reaching those who are single, and connecting with them and letting them know that, hey, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And definitely one of the things that Family Life wants to do is to support, especially our single parents, because we recognize, parenting is hard enough when you have two in the home. So just imagining, doing it alone. So we definitely want to support our single parents however we can. And those who are single, like, we want to do fun things with singles. We want to do like matchmaking and dating for those who want that type of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's her dream.
But then there are some singles who are like, listen, I am ready to be single for life, and I'm not looking to be, hooked up or don't introduce me to anyone. I'm okay. And so just being able to meet everyone where they are and provide them with service and let them know that Family Life is here for them. So that's where we are.
Chaplain, it was a pleasure speaking with you this afternoon. We could go on and on and on, but unfortunately we have to come to an end. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us or speak with us, and just talk about life. And there are folks that may be struggling or going through issues with their teenage child or children. Please know that you're not alone. Please know that you have a place. You have a platform that you can come to, and the Bible says, "Come, let us reason together." So let us talk. Your child or children is not your enemy. They don't hate you. They have their personal stuff that they go through as well. And it's one of the hardest things for us, especially us West Indian parents, to grasp. And come to, but. Continue to be the parent that God designed you to be for your children and with your children, so that when they grow up, as the Bible says, they will not depart from it.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. So nonetheless, Chaplain, it was a delight having you today.
Yes,
and,
it was.
And we will call on you again.
For sure. Yeah, we might be starting a support group, mamas with teenage sons,
Absolutely. I will say to you that when I spoke to Ed about, our sons, the similarities, it was very relieving just to laugh about it and realize, look, you're not in this alone. This is not unique to my situation. It was cool. Okay, so he's going through a phase. So we do need that support. And, for now we can do it on whatever platform is available. So I'm looking forward to supporting you guys in launching that support group where we can, as parents, air our frustrations in a healthy, dignified way, have those dignified conversations, and just know that no one's judging you, but we're here with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. But once again, it's been our pleasure to have you. Thank you, our viewers, those who are watching us live, those who will watch the replay. We really appreciate you spending your 3 o'clock hour with us every Saturday afternoon. And don't forget, you can email us, you can send us your questions, send us your comments to family@cotosda.org. We will see you next week, same time, same place, with another discussion about family life. Thank you so much for joining.